belongingness. That's one of those words we all want, and yet sometimes it's really hard to feel. Yesterday, I had an experience where I was not feeling it, and I was thinking about it and just thought I would talk it through out loud because I know it's a feeling that we all experience at different times. It leaves you feeling very lonely. Like, I was kind of convinced I'm the only person that doesn't feel this way, and yet I rationally knew that probably a lot of the other people in the exact same room I was in were feeling similarly. And I know that we often have that experience when we are with family or friends or in a crowd or in a gathering, and yet we still feel apart from. Yesterday I was at a speakers community, so I really did belong. Like, I am a speaker, and I'm not just new to it, I actually am a speaker, so I should feel very welcome being there. They're a group of people that actually want to be a community, and so are doing things to help foster those relationships. Everybody was very friendly, of course. I even knew people, like, somebody had invited me into this community. I knew him. I had even invited somebody else in, so I knew him. I had some good conversations with people yesterday. I even paid to be there. So on so many levels, I clearly, rationally belonged. And it's not a situation of anybody excluding me or a situation of like imposter syndrome, like I technically am not this and I shouldn't be here. I just didn't feel like I belonged. And I was thinking about that later, like, why is that? Like, why is that so easy to go to? And I love all the research around how quickly we feel rejected and how hard it is for us to feel really included. And so I was really sitting in it and kind of just being like, wow, this is so fascinating that I do belong. And by all accounts and purposes, I was even aware that other people in the room were brand new and like they could be looking at me and thinking I belong and they don't belong. Like, it's just so interesting. And yet here I was very much feeling like I didn't belong. And I think it's just human nature to kind of like try to find ourselves wanting to belong and be connected and be loved and all those things and be known. But I think it's like three things happened that really triggered that for me yesterday. And I think it's valuable for any of us when this happens. Some of these might be familiar to you, but some of them might be, just a way for you to be thinking and asking yourself, like, what's happening right now? Like, am I actively being excluded? Am I actively blatantly being rejected? And the answer is usually no. In this case, absolutely no. There was nobody who was not being warm or friendly, or was trying to exclude or turn their back on me or saying I wasn't welcome. So none of those things were true. And yet, why am I feeling this? So those three things for me were, the first one is, I think I was very tired. I think it was like some long days and some short nights and a lot of travel lately. And the idea, so I think I can only do so much, introducing myself, talking to people, trying to remember people's names, like wanting to engage and then go to the next person. I drain energy in like noisy, crowded environments often. And then it was just so much information. It was a learning day. So much information coming in. So the times that were meant for connecting were kind of like breaks and networking kind of gatherings and music. And so it's not my favorite way of connecting. I'd much rather be sitting in a small group over dinner in a quiet place, talking and having meaningful conversation any day of the week. But yet here we are. So I think first of all, just recognizing I felt tired. So the connecting I was doing may not have been feeding me in the same way. Just doing a lot of quantity and a lot of meeting people and doing all the first level shares doesn't feed me in the same way as like going deeper. I think the second thing is that all of the learning, if I were to be really honest, and I'm trying to be, was that it left me feeling a little insecure. It was all about business building, and as a speaker, I love speaking, and I've spent so much time perfecting myself as a speaker, but not as much time on the business side of speaking. And so at an event like this, where they're showing us like all the things we could be doing and should be doing as a speaker and how our businesses should be growing and this kind of thing, I felt kind of bad. I kind of felt some shame. I felt some kind of like, wow, for as long as I've been doing this, I should be further ahead. I'm sure many of us have had similar feelings. Like, by the time I'm this age, I should be at this place. Or by the time I've like this year in my business, why am I still like not feeling like this is, working as well as I want it to be? And so I think I felt insecurity and some shame and just kind of the information coming in. It was good information. I'm glad I went. I'm glad I got it. And it triggered me. It made me feel bad. And so I think that led to the third thing, which is I know that the science shows us that when our brain starts feeling insecure or shame, we perceive things differently, right? So we see things as danger or as fear. We take them in differently. I remember seeing studies where if we walk into a room and we feel connected, and we feel loved, and we feel confident, then we're gonna look around and see smiling faces and warm opportunities, and we're gonna see the safety. But if we feel threatened or have trauma or are in like kind of defense mode, feel really insecure, then we're gonna walk in and we already feel like, if we're in defense mode, that means you're already feeling protective, which means you feel that there's threats and danger. And so your brain is looking to confirm that and is looking for where the danger is. It's like thinks it's helping you by pointing out like where the danger could happen, where the insecurities might be accurate. And so I think that like kind of feeling the tiredness and the personal insecurity, it was likely that that lens started shaping my experience, that I looked around the room and perceived things differently. I saw people who looked like they were closer, and it made me feel like, oh, I want to be close like they are, or I just want that to be easier, or I want to know her, she looks super fun, or like, oh, too many people are talking to him, I'd love to meet him, and it starts triggering all this stuff for us. And so in my case, no exception, I was starting to just feel very left out. What I wanted was to be pulled in. I wanted to be told I belonged. I wanted to like feel it. I wanted to be wanted. I wanted to be invited. And instead I was in a situation where I needed to go make it happen. I needed to go interact. I needed to walk up to people. I felt disconnected and I was tired of being the one to be prompting that and to be pulling, to be going around. So I felt like I was on the edge and I wanted to be in the hub. Do you know that feeling? You've been in that place where you just feel like you rationally are like, I belong, and yet I don't feel. So that's a difference, isn't it? Belongingness. Like, it's not a matter of do I belong on paper. It's do I feel like I belong here? And I didn't. So I want to tell you what I did. The event ended at 5, and there was a gala to end the evening that was going to start at 7. But I had to be at the airport at 9, so I was going to have to leave the event, an hour into it, into the gala. So I have this break, and I've already checked out of my room because I'm flying out that night. So I have this break at 5:30. I'm just kind of done talking, done mixing. I have about an hour. And during that hour, I have to like go find a bathroom, go get my suitcase from the bellboy, go find a bathroom, change, get into my sparkly dress for the gala, and, go walk the red carpet and network some more. And so everything in me, let's just be honest, was like, I could just go to the airport now and find a nice restaurant and just like order a great meal and just read my book and just be at the airport a little early. And like, as I was thinking it, I was like, oh my gosh, that sounds so wonderful. And let me be clear. I think sometimes that is the right choice. I don't think that would be the wrong choice sometimes. Like, self-care matters. But I was checking in with myself and I was asking myself, like, are you running away? And I was like, I think I am. I think I am. I think that I want that because it's the easy route. That's the easy direction, right? That just is comfort. That's just like, no one can reject me if I'm just going to the airport by myself. So I think a little bit of it was asking myself, like, if I'm feeling excluded, and here's the crazy thing about rejection is that when we feel rejected, we all feel it. We all feel on the outside. We all feel excluded. And the research shows that no matter how healthy we are, no matter how much spiritual work we've done, no matter what our personality is, we feel that. The difference, having done emotional spiritual work, is that hopefully we react differently when we do feel it. So I was kind of like thinking this through rationally, and I was just kind of like, okay, so the temptation is to, basically like push your way in or pull away. And I'm not a push my way in person. So the temptation would be to pull away and just keep myself safe. And when I could hear myself say that, I was like, I came here and what I want is to feel more connected. Is going to the airport and sitting by myself going to help lead to that? No. I'm not entirely 100% sure that getting in my little sparkly dress and networking is going to lead to it either, but it has a much higher odds of doing so. And so yeah, I went and got my suitcase from the bellboy. I went down and found a public bathroom at the hotel, changed into my heels and my sparkly dress. I'm like, okay. And I chose to do 3 things. I just said, you know what? I'm going to show up and I'm going to look for connection. I'm going to train my brain. I'm going to tell my brain to look for the moments and to see. Well, so let me not get ahead of myself. So look for connection, look for opportunities to connect, look for those, just the moments and see and receive the friendliness around me. Like, let that come in. Second, when I do see people who do know each other better and they are really close friends and I do wish I were like friends with them and I wish they would give me attention and I wish this, like, see that as evidence that relationships can keep happening here. Like sometimes we see cliques, like, I often hear like that church has a lot of cliques or that association, like da 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 da. But is it cliques like excluding us, or is it just people who know each other really well and have more history than we have with them? And I was like, that's what this is. This is not people excluding. These are people who have built the relationship. So good for them, honestly, that they get to benefit from the relationship they built. And the only way I'm going to feel that way is to build my own relationships. And we all know that building relationships takes consistency. And we can't just come in and all of a sudden have a close relationship. We can be, we can have chemistry. We can like each other quickly. We can be attracted to certain people quickly. But relationships take time to build. And so I have to keep showing up. And this was only my 3rd time in this community. So reminding myself, be gentle with myself. And see that the connections weren't a sign of me being excluded, but they were a sign of what can happen. And that if I too keep showing up, I too can feel that way and be connected in that way. So looking for the opportunities, seeing the things that instead of threats, but seeing them as evidence, seeing them as signs of it, seeing it as hope, seeing it as evidence of what I want. And then I was just like, you know what? If I just go in and find 1 or 2 people to connect with in a more meaningful way, like, well done. And, I wish I could give you this fairy tale ending of like, oh my gosh, I walked in and everybody was like, yay, Shasta, and just had all this wonderful, meaningful interaction. But in some ways I kind of did, I showed up at the event and I was like walking in by myself, feeling the feelings. There was a red carpet and I was kind of like, I saw a big group of friends go and get their pictures taken together. And you just immediately start feeling like I'm all by myself. But then do you know what? Immediately a couple people around me were like, Shasta, let's do a picture together. And there I am getting my picture taken with other people. That's a good little sign. And then who knows if somebody else walked in and thought I was the person who was like with all my friends, right? And feeling left out. It's so easy for us to project on each other, all of those things. And for each of us to feel kind of on the out. And then I walked in and thanked so many different people. I mean, I think Greg, a good friend of mine that was there, he was just super warm and super sweet and so excited to see me. And that's amazing how some people can help us feel that way. Just walking around and talking to different people. And then I ended up sharing a cab to the airport kind of spontaneously with somebody. And that was super, that was a good long conversation. That was super nice. And I got to the airport and I was like, well done. Well done, Shasta. You showed up even when you were tired, even when you felt insecure, even when you felt like you didn't belong. And you're doing the work of belonging. And I guess that's kind of one of the takeaways, isn't it? Just that belonging it's not something that's bestowed on us. It's not something that you just somebody doesn't come give it to you. It's something that we have to experience. We have to show up and put in the time and be present. We have to contribute. We have to practice sharing and getting to know each other. And all of that just takes time and energy. So I did it. And I just hope that this encourages some of you to find your moments that when you feel that lack of belonging, that you too would be able to kind of just sit back and look at it, ask yourself some questions, be super gentle with yourself, and know that you're worth the belonging and keep leaning into it. So